Are you serious?
Yeah.
Poor guy's literally like asking to sit so Are you okay? So here we are. That's the main thing, right? You are? You okay?
Yeah, I'm over here sitting inside.
What do you have in terms of
To ask questions and
what that?
Hello everyone, we are about to go live shortly. Just to let you know that this is being live streamed. In fact, I should actually just be up here saying hello world, welcome to the BOLO podcast live. We are live streaming now across the world. If you'd like to head to the Black and London YouTube page, you will be able to send that on. If anyone is on an iPhone, what I will do is I will share it. Share it out to everyone so that they can share it along. So if you do get air share, do what for that. I know it's not the way it's meant to be said. I'll get my detailing on soon enough. So. That's me live, looking at myself. Fantastic. This is quite awkward. And I am airdropping it now to anyone who has. Okay, get around that. Look at you guys with your lack of security. Just leaving it open to everyone to infiltrate your friends. Who is this? Incredible. Do you not know what age you're living in? Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming.
It is extremely cold, so we're really happy to have some warmth inside here. Warm people, warm vibes, cool cocktails, but warming inside, warming food. And it's, as we, before I get the guests on, I'd just like to just say what an incredible journey this has all been. From a Black Element BOLO perspective, it started off with trying to get people to recognise Black-owned business and understand the fantastic ones that are out there, to meeting incredible people. And this panel is a collection of incredible people doing incredible things. And it's not waxing lyrical to really talk about that and to celebrate it and to really push it to the forefront. Because the whole point has been meeting these people and realizing, how did I not know about you before? And how do I not know about what you do? Because you're making a real world impact. And the whole podcast series has been fabulous in that actual effect of sitting there and learning, like really literally learning in situ and knowing that there is value in everyone's story, but particularly, really, you have to put it there. You have to put a particular value in people who push through and create things. It's not easy. And for a lot of the time, whether it's career or whether it's business, you're doing it on your own and in the dark, and it doesn't see the light. And when it sees the light, everyone's like, wow. But I think one of the beautiful things is that we definitely saw was people look to each other like recognizes like. They know they've been through the journey and they've got so much to share. So thank you again. I'm not on the stage today, so you'll be happy that there won't be any more monologues. But just wanted to say thank you and to really send out the appreciation for what is your presence. And thank you so much to the panelists for being here today and sharing again their amazing journey stories and their thoughts on the different issues that we're going to raise today. So I will invite the panelists to come up. Martin will be here on the right, so you are welcome to take any seats that you would like. We have Ray Coates, we have Iris Nike, we have Alexander Alexander, we have Samantha Brown, and we do have Akara Etta making his way. So at least everyone's in situ, and we can start some form of conversations. So for those who don't know, my name is Alexander Gapol. I am co-founder of BOLO, and our mission is Black Economic Empowerment, simple and short, and the journey to what this room is and the collection of people here continues. It continues with sharing these thoughts. This podcast has been incredibly revealing. And for this evening, I will leave you to host of the evening, co-founder Martin.
I've got a lot of pressure. Hi everybody, thanks so much for coming. I am the least important person on the stage, so don't worry too much about me. It's been an amazing journey, as I'm sure Alex already alluded to. Interviewing these guys is eye-opening, inspiring, thought-provoking. It was literally one of those things which I'm really grateful that we got to do. And I'm grateful that these guys shared their time with us, because it's not easy. They're all busy people, even if they don't want to admit it, or too humble to admit it. So I think what we're going to do is kick off with 3 questions, which I'm just going to throw towards you guys. Whoever feels like answer first. Obviously, don't fight about it. I'm trying to keep it nice and sweet. But yeah, and then after the 3 questions that we've done from the Black and London perspective, then we'll open up to the floor, and everyone's welcome to ask questions of their own. Yeah?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Perfect. I think we're missing one that he's just turned up, and I felt it in my bones. I lost my voice, but we'll start anyway, and you can jump in, don't stress about it. Okay, so first question. They're sort of quite long questions, so I apologize in advance, guys. That's what happens when you're asking things, to think about things. Okay, so I think the first question I would put to you all is, there's a huge depth of job possibilities and opportunities in the working world. However, within Black communities especially, this view sort of appears quite narrow. And what do you believe is the hurdle to accessing this knowledge, and how do you recommend going about changing it? And if you don't understand what I've actually asked, please tell me. I can elaborate it if you want.
I'm thoroughly confused.
That's the car, everybody. But yeah, no. So effectively, the question I'm asking is, there are so many jobs out there, so many, and not the most obvious ones. There's more than just being a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer. All those classic ones, which are great jobs in themselves, or working in sport, whatever it is. But I feel like within the Black community, there's quite a narrow view of what these opportunities are and what they exist. And I think in other communities, people have much more access to that depth of job opportunity. So I think, I'm asking what are the hurdles do you think are there after that access of knowledge, and how do we go about changing it, if we need to at all? I hope that's the right way of saying it. Feel free, anyway.
Everyone's looking at each other. I'll take it. To start off anyway. Good evening, everyone. Good to meet you all. Hi. My name is Batwal Alexander. So I'm going to talk from the angle of the creative industry, because that's our focus through both not-for-profit Creative House, but then also through my creative agency as well. So the numbers are very similar across all industries. In the creative industry, you look at under 7% of people that work within the creative industry are from ethnic majority background, only 1 in 4 are female. So it's very poignant, and also when you look at the creative industry, generally from the outside it kind of looks like it's really inclusive, but the numbers say otherwise. So from our point of view of Creative House, what we try and aim to do is to aim towards systemic change by trying to put everyone at the same starting point. Because we know that that's not always the case, right? People are generally running different races. So what we aim to do is to put everyone at the same starting point, so everyone has the same chance for success, right? So what I mean by that from our perspective is, we know that access to facilities and spaces is hard to get access to. They're expensive, and there isn't a lot around. We know that access to knowledge sometimes is hard to get to, because you're not within those circles, so you're not necessarily born within those circles to access that knowledge. And it's hard to build those communities to get there. And then we also know the support system throughout. So when it's a case of getting within those rooms to access the knowledge, but then having that support system throughout, so mentoring and coaching is super important to be able to put people in the right direction to achieve success. So, and I know that's obviously a big task, and that doesn't happen overnight. But for us, is generally trying to get everyone into the same starting point so that they can have an equal opportunity.
It was a good answer, thank you.
Just to add that, a couple of thoughts on that actually. So from a hospitality perspective actually, representation isn't technically the problem, in that it's close to like 18% of people in the industry identify as Black, Asian or ethnic minority, which is on par with the UK average, right? So representation is there, however, they are in the lower paid roles and the most junior roles. And I think I mentioned that because access to the industry has never been the issue with hospitality, but actually being able to progress and having visible and accessible role models is really important as well. Because obviously there are the systemic issues that we know exist, but when you think about a lot of the creative industries, you think about sport, there are career role models that I know a lot of, especially the Black men in my family, look towards as role models who they wanted to be like. And in a number of industries, those people don't exist. And being able to see the physical manifestation of yourself in a role is super helpful. So I think representation and visibility is important. Oh,
There you go.
Oh,
There you go. I realised I was giving because you were next to me.
I think visibility and representation is really important. And people always say representation matters, and it's not the only thing that matters. But I think being able to see people that look like you in particular roles is really, really important, and it has been for me. And then I also feel as though, I've lost my train of thought completely. Yeah, I'll just leave it there, 'cause I can't remember what else I was going to say. But I do think that, you know, if you just look at some of the industries like football, like music, there's loads of visible role models. In my field, being a social entrepreneur, I bought food and drink for businesses like globally. Best job in the world, traveling, eating and drinking. And I still meet people now that don't even know their job exists because there aren't role models like me, but not that I'm a role model, but like there's not people that are visible doing these roles that people can look at and think, actually, I can access that. So I think visibility is
Can I step up? Can you hear me?
Is it on?
No, that's
There we
amazing. I think we actually have to go back to the roots. I think it really starts within our family and our communities. I think we all come from a background where we heard have a real job, do something which will sustain you in the long run. I work in interior design, I don't have any figures, and I'm in the kind of top end, high-end sector of the interior design industry. You can count us interior design professionals on one hand in this country. I mean, it's so limited, it's so shockingly daunting. I still find it often very daunting in the environment, despite having achieved quite a lot with the company. So I think it starts, first of all, within our minds, in our home. I had the discussion with my daughter the other day, and she sees me as a creative professional, and she's extremely talented in the arts, but she said, like, oh, maybe I should really pursue a real career rather than doing PhD in arts and design, do it in biology and chemistry, because I think it's still so much rooted within us to pursue something which will sustain us in the long run. And then I think the role model aspect as well is so important. What you see is what you will be. If we are in, and I think one other element which I'm working quite intensively on is this, I call it my little thing, the one call society. So if my colleague who lives in Chelsea and went to boarding school in wherever, wants a job in interior design, she calls one auntie and she gets this internship. And I think if we can create within our community, in every industry, that is like one phone call away, someone is there where you can have access and get a foot into the door. I think that's already a stepping stone towards change.
I would agree. Evening for a long time. I'd absolutely agree with what everyone has said, and I mean, my role in culture at Camden, and I think there's definitely something around grounding it or being able to celebrate actually having a job in the arts and culture and creative industries. I think far too much it's seen as the thing you do on the side when you don't get a proper job. And I also think COVID and things like that in a way compounded it because it meant that it decimated parts of the sector. But then also it opened up this conversation around pathways and actually the jobs that are available. I think far too often as well in the community it's this aspiration to be the person who's front and centre, so whether it's the singer or the footballer, and not understanding because the jobs, when I say not understanding, it's because the industry hasn't actually promoted the jobs that sit behind. And not only the fact that there were jobs, there were created, I mean, I don't know if you saw the Evening Standard and other media outlets. A couple of weeks ago, the GLA, the Mayor of London's office, put a report out saying 1 in 5 jobs in London at the moment are in the creative industries. And when you sort of drill down into that, it does bring up ethnicity and kind of look in terms of representation. But then also, there are jobs where people are doing creative jobs that are not in the creative industry. So you need to be a graphic designer in a bank, that's still a creative job. And I think it's understanding that there are jobs other than being front and centre on the stage, which is probably the mindset that our parents grew up with, that I'm on you're going to be an actor or a dancer, but actually there are jobs that sit behind that within the industry. And part of the role that we have within the council is looking at those pathways in training, starting from children and young people, whether that's through our STEAM programs, our science, technology, engineering, arts and maths program, as well as the Camden Spark, which is a cultural education learning partnership, which connects schools and arts and cultural and creative industries together, so that young people can actually see it and believe it and understand it as an aspiration and a career path.
Cara, do you want to jump in?
I feel like everyone's covered off everything so well, but also to talk about what we talked about last time, that, you know, that empowering, that kind of training, and also what BOLO is doing, I think super, super important. Everyone's mentioned education and knowledge, and I think anything like what we're doing today and just shining the light on these industries is super, super important. So, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, you guys are really succinct in your answers. So I was like, oh, okay. I was like, maybe I should give you more time. But no, thank you. That was all brilliant answers. I think it speaks to it massively. Alice, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to get everyone to introduce themselves.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can definitely do that. Given the fact that you guys have been so efficient, we don't have time. So, but yeah, if from going all the way from a card, if you guys introduce yourselves and a little bit about yourself, so everyone knows who you guys are.
Hey everyone, my name is Akara Etta. I work in music. I've been in a band with a couple of people in this room, as well as been a producer, run my own record label, been a resident in recording studios as an engineer. I work currently at Universal Music in the digital marketing department, and yeah, love music, still involved in it. Still involved in teaching and helping the next generation as well, kind of in line with everything that we talked about, kind of passing some of the knowledge that I've had over the years. I probably do a few other things as well, but that's where I'll start.
Father Alexander, born and raised in Camden, so local Camden boy. Worked at Nike for about 10 years, did multiple different things. The last role I did was in marketing with the Jordan brand over in Amsterdam, and then I left that to start my own creative agency. So we're Consumer Insights, a creative agency where we do a lot of marketing work, strategic direction, content, talent, all that kind of cool stuff. And then through that agency, I always wanted to do our part to give back to the community. So then we opened up a not-for-profit organisation called Creatives House, where we support and empower 18 to 25-year-old creatives.
So my name is Eva Schmeike. I'm an interior textile designer. I have a background in fashion.
Sorry, guys.
It's just one second.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a background in fashion, so I was UK fashion editor. Sorry, let's go back. I'm Nigerian, but grew up and raised in Germany, hence the accent. People always get confused. So been doing it for over 25 years. Have a background in fashion, and came to a point that I couldn't see anything that kind of represented me, represented our culture in fashion, specifically in interior. So I took things into my own hand 15 years ago, started a small side hustle by my name, selling cushions and fabrics by the meter, and very quickly got into the big department store, Stanford, Liberty, and Lafayette, and I knew there was a gap in the market for luxury African interiors brand. We've been doing this for 15 years. It's now a global company, selling worldwide, collaborating with brands all over the world. I love what I'm doing. I'm obsessed with interiors. I'm obsessed with color, pattern, and I think my main mission is to bring the African narrative to a global luxury audience into an industry that wasn't or hasn't been recognized before.
Hi everyone, I'm Denise Brown. I'm head of culture at Camden Council. I've been here, gosh, a year now. My role oversees the arts development team and also the event service for Nikki. Prior to that, I worked for another local authority, so my background has been in public sector culture, but I'm also a cultural producer as well. And over the last 5-6 years, a lot of my practice has been around platforming pieces of like British history. So I worked on a project called No Best on Home, as part of Brand 2020 Borough Culture, where I was a senior producer, celebrating the borough's history of reggae. I commissioned the first public artwork in a green space to look at contested heritage in Camden Town Hall, which was really looking and telling that story around the link of the park to William Gladstone's family and the enslavement, trafficking, residents. And I also do some work with GNA, support them with their Camden annual reflection event, and I'm also working with the Museum of London on looking at the Sugar and Slavery Gallery as well, and how they redevelop that gallery to tell more up-to-date narrative of the country's legacy around enslavement and trafficking.
Hi all, my name is Lorraine. I am currently the founder and CEO of a social enterprise called Be Inclusive Hospitality. Founded the business 3 years ago, and in essence we produce research and use that data to inform action. So we deliver programs to support people of colour in the sector. We also work with a lot of corporate, so global and national brands and businesses to help them be more inclusive. Prior to that, I had a 20-year career in hospitality, so procurement and supply chain, working for some amazing brands like Gordon Ramsay, Shake Shack, to name a few. And then aside from that, I'm obsessed with food and drink. So I've studied wines and I write about food and drink for a Black Business magazine. I'm a life coach as well, and I consult on brand partnerships and a few other bits. But obsessed with food and drink, I really do. And those that follow me know that I do quite a lot, but I exercise too, I'm quite balanced. That's me.
Perfect, thank you. I warn you, if you do follow her, it's a lot, you'll have food envy, jealousy, a lot of things, so it's difficult. But definitely worth it. Okay, perfect. So with that, thank you very much, guys. As you can see, there's an amazing panel we have here. I'll move on to the second question. And just bear with me. I can't remember off these, I can't remember these off my heart, sorry. No chance. Okay, it sort of leads on to what some of you were saying before, but I said, you know, what are your views on mentorship, and would you like to see it implemented more often, and if so, how and where?
I mean, I'll jump in on mentorship just because we run a mentorship scheme and have done for the past 3 years. But I always caveat by saying that mentorship alone is not a solution. Mentorship is part of the kind of overarching solution, but the benefits that we've seen are just obviously transferable of knowledge. But when mentors become sponsors, and many of our mentors, we basically match people within the community, so there could be drinks and food brand owners, there could be sommeliers, brand managers, chefs. It's really quite far and wide. And all of our mentors, like we've got CEOs of like global brands like Share, we've got CEOs of like businesses like Hawksmoor, like amazing leaders in the industry, and they not only transfer knowledge and support our mentees on their journey, but they connect them with people and help them to access networks and resources they otherwise wouldn't access. So I think mentorship is brilliant, I really do. But it can't be viewed as the only solution in advancing change, because as entrepreneurs or as working professionals, we need so much more than just mentorship on its own, in my view.
Thank you. Who's next?
I think with Lorraine, I agree so much on that point of mentorship leading to network. I think that is so key, and the mentorship that I've seen that works really well, that's been so successful, is yes, the mentorship element of it, but then sharing network to grow, whatever that looks like. What I've seen in the space that I'm in is the mentors are there, and especially if you look at Black women, right? I think the mentors are there. What I feel like we need to do is try and create spaces.
Yeah.
Check.
Okay.
Yeah, so I feel like the mentors are there. We just need to create spaces to enable that mentorship to happen in a way that's sustainable. Because we know that mentorship is ultimately a relationship, right? We know that people are busy. Sometimes it starts with one conversation and never goes anywhere. Sometimes it's a conversation that lasts years, right? And you can't force a relationship, but I do think there's value in creating spaces to allow for that relationship to be more sustainable. But I know that the mentors are there willing to help, willing to support. It's how do we get people in front of it?
I actually think that mentorship should almost be compulsory. I would almost go and almost, of course, you can't force anyone because you have to be willing, but I think there should be for mentors so many. It's sometimes really difficult to find how am I going to mentor. I'm mentoring with an organization, I'm not going to call them names, I'm looking at but I'm mentoring at the moment with an organization, and I'm always trying to find the right outlet how to mentor, because you don't want to mentor kind of unstructured by yourself. So I think, first of all, it's important that there are clear structures or clear ways for mentors to find pathways of how they can mentor kind of officially, successfully. But I think it starts with us. And I think if we are in a position where and it doesn't mean that we have to have 20 years of industry experience. I think I've met some really young, experienced people who can be mentors. I think it should be at the forefront, because this is one of the only ways of making a change, and obviously inviting mentees into your network and keeping them in your network as well, so that we all move towards this one core society where we are strong. When I'm in the US and I see how people work and how densely they mentor and how densely the networks are, I think it's just impressive. And I feel that here in the UK, they're not there yet. When I look at my sisters and brothers in Germany, they are dense, they're working really well together and one reaches out to the other because it's so tough out there that you need the network. And I think through supporting the network and opening up ways for mentors, clearly I think it will also help. So that everyone who wants to can be part of it.
I'd be super interested in trying to understand how you get that density, because I think I agree that connecting is just one part of it, and building that stronger connection, that dense network that you're talking about. I would love to, I don't have the idea, I don't have the answer, I'd love to kind of understand in what ways we could bring that in, because yes, in my roles I've connected with people who are passionate and want to get into music. I think in music, it's very normal for someone to swap social media with you, and that's almost an immediate connection and a closeness. So I have students that I taught years ago who I'm still connected to on social media, and I see them post and we chat and I see them out, and it feels a lot more informal, but also we've maintained that connection beyond the kind of formal year or two that I was with them. So yeah, I think I would like mentorship to be more widespread. I mean, I like to come with alternative ideas. So for me, I'd say every company should be running a mentorship scheme. Every employee should be mentoring. That's how I would like the world to be. It doesn't work that way, but I think if it was almost compulsory and super widespread, we would have much better and stronger formal kind of guidelines, as you were talking to, that would help people mentor effectively and help people get the most out of mentorship. So that as someone who's a mentee, you would see that, okay, this is something that everyone's doing and this is the way that we do it. Because yeah, it really does vary. I think at Universal I've seen some amazing stuff for black employees. But outside of that example, I haven't seen that much as formalised. So yeah, more is my answer, more.
I think in a local authority setting, particularly for culture as well, that the mentorship programs for me personally haven't really connected with the aspiration of what we're trying to do, which is around making culture across the board more widely. My experiences of being a mentor or being a mentee have come from outside the local government and come from within, I guess, cultural leaders from different arts organisations. Where I've felt that, where I've been a mentor, those mentorship relationships have come through either friendships or working relationships with a similar shared aspiration. And I'm really excited that one of the last mentorship roles that I've had, the person I was mentoring has now just moved into a full-time job in a local authority in an arts leadership role. So for me, just that small step of giving up my time and supporting the person who is also a friend, but also needed that help and guidance, as a black female arts professional in a local authority where there's not many of us around. It's, for me, feels like that's where the role that I can play to sort of other people of colour that want to come up through local authority.
Amazing. I think it's really interesting from all the points you've talked through and raised. I think if we look at the job landscape, I think things are way more dynamic than they may have been about 50 years or 100 years ago. It wasn't sort of a clean split between where you go, and I think the idea of mentorship can allow for just, in all examples, it's the idea that someone wants to get into something, but if you don't know how to get into something or what to get into something, and if it's going to be worth it, that sort of mentorship allows that person to sort of have a little future look at how things can possibly work out for you. But whether it works out or not, it just gives the opportunity for things to actually go a lot further and faster. It's like that's ever changing, I guess, in that sense. But as well, what Cara was saying in terms of how you get that density, I mean, I'm not gonna try and answer that question, but I think it opens up a very big question in terms of community and how we build our communities and what communities looks like, and the aspect of, if we talk about black communities, how it's not monolithic in a sense, but then that creates its own issues and hurdles in terms of creating that network that you're looking for with ease. I think maybe that's why places like America probably have it a bit more, because there's less. It's not monolithic in the sense of everyone's the same, but there are cultural boundaries that kind of exist, I think, more so in the UK, just because of everyone's different backgrounds and everyone having more connection with their heritage in some respects. So that can be a good and a good thing and a slight hurdle, if anyone agrees. Feel free to disagree with that. But that's just
No, I see that a lot. So even like I'm Jamaican, and whenever I go to Jamaica, whenever I go to America, and especially family members that are Jamaican, a lot of their friends are generally migrant or generally not African American. So there is that separation for sure that I've experienced, but I definitely see that for sure. Yeah.
That's just a food for thought, so to speak. For me, I think it is a great question. How do we get that density? But that's not my first question. Just say that. But if we have some time, I'm happy for people to answer that question. The last and final question from myself is the entrepreneur versus employment question. So, do you believe that those embarking on the entrepreneur path should gain experience first in employment, or do you think it's unnecessary? And as a community, do you think we should encourage more entrepreneurs? I'm done, just like this.
I am really proud to be on stage with people who clearly have the entrepreneurial spirit. I think it's really, really humbling, but also very inspirational. I think clearly some of the experiences that the people on stage next to me have gone through have led them to the point where they wanted to start something. And again, maybe with a bit more time, or maybe now, you could expand a little bit on what got you to that point that you're like, I need to do this. I know that for me, I started a record label, and it was again that passion for the music that I was creating and not seeing similar examples around. And so I was like, okay, cool. Like, let me see who's in my network who can help me with that, and how can we make this happen? Equally, my parents, I wouldn't say are very entrepreneurial themselves. They had jobs, pretty much full-time jobs. But since I left university, I didn't have a single full-time job up until maybe a year or two ago. And without giving away my age, it's been a few years. But yeah, I think just to say that sometimes it just comes out of you, it seems, but I'm intrigued as to what other people's experiences were as well.
I think, yes, could be alright. I think with this question, it's an interesting one, and I've had quite a few conversations about this. So I've done both. I've worked in employment for many years, and then I've done an entrepreneurial journey as well. So for context, my parents were entrepreneurial pretty much my whole life. So I've always seen them in business. Nothing, huge or anything like that, but I've always seen them in business. So I've always wanted to go into business. I guess I've just had that urge in me. But I didn't do it straight away, and I think that's part of the question, right? Should we encourage people to go into business and be entrepreneurs straight away? Personally, I didn't go into it. I worked at Nike, and I feel like I really shaped who I am and then developed by working at a global organization. And I feel like if I did what I'm doing now, 10 years ago, I don't think I'd be at the level I am at now, my journey. I feel like also generations are different, right? And I feel like at the moment, the generation, it is the most entrepreneurial generation we've seen. But it also, I feel like everyone's journey to success is different. And I feel like there's a narrative out there that employment is almost looked down upon a little bit. And I don't think that is the case at all. You can be as successful in employment as you can be in entrepreneurship. I've done both. I can't tell you which one's better. I can't tell you which one I prefer. Both have pros and cons. You could be super successful in one, and you can be super successful in the other. I feel like it's a case of people really establishing, I guess, understanding both, pros and cons to both, so that the mentorship and the conversation kind of goes into that, right? Have a conversation and try and understand what both of them mean, but then make that decision, or try and make that decision of which one works for you. I know people that are super successful, like heads in big global brands that are making good paper, right? And they would never want to do entrepreneurial things. It's just not them, right? And I also know other entrepreneurs that, are as successful as well. And again, there's this narrative of, I want to work for myself. I want to make all my decisions. And I'm self-made, all of that. I'm like, hey, when you get into business, you think you're going from 9 to 5 to working when you want to go from 9 to 9, right? In the morning, like it's tough, it's hard, and it's not for everyone. I think everyone's journey is different and specific to them.
Agree. I'm sorry, I'm just thinking and pondering about a couple of things that you were saying there, and the thing that keeps coming back to me is resilience.
Yeah.
So I think across both, like to work in a 9 to 5 and becoming the head and super head, there's a element of sort of resilience of working in that corporate or whatever sort of structure, formal structure of employment. But there's also that resilience of being your own boss, and how do you, all the things that come with that. How do you budget? How do you kind of go from the 9 to 5 to the 9 to whenever the job finishes? But both are as important and as equal, and the skill that you, I think, kind of crosses over both is having that sort of that resilience and self-belief, because in both fields there's going to be challenges. I don't think there is one over the other. I think there's part of me that feels that if it's not there, if that job isn't there for you, then don't make it yourself. But equally making it, understanding that you're not going to make it like that, and what is that journey of getting there? That it feels like the generational thing is this kind of wanting everything quick and instant, but that quick and instant, there is also a journey, and you have to learn that journey in order to be successful in where your practice is going to take you.
So I think, a bit like you, I've been an employee and an employer, and I think that when you think about the position of Black people in this country, I think that entrepreneurship is essential. And it's not for everybody. Everyone can't be the leader. But what that does unlock, which is not the case at the moment, is access to equitable environments, where you're treated fairly and you're recruited on the basis of the merit that you have. And I think what I constantly see in this country and in every subsector is that Black people are consumers. Right, we consume. I work with a number of brands that are not owned by people that look like us, but sell to us.
Yeah.
And we need to change that. I think, when I think about the disparities that exist in this country, They're obviously deep-rooted, and we all know and understand the history, but for that to change, there need to be more entrepreneurs that look like us, that are also able to offer people jobs. And for me, as a business owner, I ensure that whether it's my supply chain or who I employ, I seek out talent that looks like me. And I genuinely do, because time and time again throughout my career, I've met people that look like me, that don't get the opportunity, overlooked, and that can't happen under my watch in my business. And I'm not here to compare ourselves to any other culture, because we've all had a very different path. But the infrastructure and the networks that a lot of other cultures have don't exist within our community, often because there are a lot of business, I don't even know how to quantify it in terms of UK wide, I know a lot of business owners that are black, but we need to utilise our economic power, because that's when we are listened to. And I feel like it's a big reason as to why we're not listened to now. We're overlooked, we're consumers, instead of people that are wielding our pounds. So.
That so resonates with me what you just said in terms of, as an entrepreneur, you're recruiting people who look like you, and I think that's super, super important. And I think that goes back to everything. We can look at mentorship, we can look at, because I mean, I had people working with me for several years, and once they left, they founded their own companies. One of their own interior design companies, doing their own thing right now, employing people who look like them. So I think that's really important. Whether, I don't know, it's an individual choice, I would say. I have been a freelancer, I've been an employee, I've been a ballet teacher, I've been everything. And everything that I've learned on this path now feeds into my entrepreneurship. So I think that's super important. Whatever you do, if you want to go out there after your A-levels, start your own startup, by all means do it. But if you think, you know what, I'm not sure, take the time, get the experience, take everything you can take out. I mean, everything that I've learned or experienced is now somehow always comes back to me. And I'm like, oh, I remember, I didn't like enjoying doing things from packing boxes, and we had to learn how to pack boxes quickly. Now, if I have to, I can do it. I didn't even know that. Let me show you how to do it very quickly. So it's really important to utilize everything. And I think there's pressure. Don't feel pressure, you have to be an entrepreneur. The pressure, I don't know, you as an entrepreneur may feel like, you want to know, it's the first paychecks coming in, and I'm like, yeah, paychecks are going out. So that's the reality of running a business. So I'm like, and after the first of the month, it's not easy, because you it's serious. So be absolutely sure that you take everything that you learn on the way and incorporate that.
Just want to add one other thing actually, because I didn't mention around, should you work and then become an entrepreneur? And I think, I personally think that having a vision is really important, and if you can, being able to lean into experts that can help your business thrive and grow, right? Because depending on where you are within the business, I mean, I'm not an expert in everything, and no entrepreneur is. But if you can find the right resources that can help you to move forward, that you can tap into at a relatively low cost, then you can still thrive with being inexperienced in finance, but have a great person that's supporting your business in finance. And I think the other thing with entrepreneurship, it doesn't rely on you being an expert in everything. Because if you want to be an operator, then that's one thing. But if you want to be a CEO and you have an amazing vision and you can bring people together, then you can thrive as a 22-year-old, 23-year-old. So I think that's something also to add to the mix.
Yeah, I think where I love to see the black community at is these conversations. I love this. This is such a cool conversation to have. Where I love to see the community at is having real conversations about entrepreneurship. So that, and this is more targeted towards the younger generation. I think that the younger generation that are kind of just coming in and making those decisions, having those real conversations on what entrepreneurship means and set them up in the right way, so that when if they do take that journey, they're able to step into it and be successful, and we're able to see those future leaders that are able to have that impact within the space. I just feel like sometimes Instagram is amazing, but it's like our biggest challenge, biggest lie, right? And everyone's posting, I guess that a lie of what entrepreneurship is. So you have the young 18-year-old coming in thinking that that's all they can do. and they think that they're not going to work anywhere else. They have to be an entrepreneur because they want to get that yacht and they want to do this and they want to do that. But that's not always the reality of what it actually is, right? So I think for me, I'd love to continue to have these kind of conversations so that we can set them up right to be able to get to that space that you mentioned.
I think something that comes to me as well is the line is quite blurred. Sometimes we think of entrepreneurs and people who work for businesses being completely different, but all these companies were started by somebody. You know what I mean? Like all these huge multinational corporations were startups at some point. Someone had an idea, someone had a seed and started to build systems. And I think once the company gets to a certain size, you then will have divisions where someone's been entrepreneurial inside it as well. And I think there are a lot of transferable skill sets. You know, people have talked about learning your craft before going into starting your own thing. And I think you will see a lot of that parallel. You know, I look at some of the people who are running some of the businesses I've worked for, and they still have that kind of, maybe I shouldn't be arbitrary. They have a mindset of someone who's a go-getter. I think is probably a better way of saying it. And it isn't that, I'm going to sit back and allow my paycheck to come in. These people are hungry. They're going out there and they're making deals. They're trying out new things. And I think we should also recognise that there isn't that clear divide. There's a lot that spills over. And if you have an entrepreneurial spirit, you can still work within a company and have that. You can maybe find a role doing something like that. And also a lot of the people that I see will have they'll have something else going on outside of their day job, which they even exhibit more of that entrepreneurial spirit. So I think, it's recognising that you don't necessarily have to do one or the other. Like a lot of us here on stage are doing 2, 3, 4, 5 different things as well. Just more food for thought.
I think that's great. It's really interesting because you guys have put some really interesting points across. It made me even think about the idea of when we're talking about entrepreneurship and employment, the idea that, okay, when you talk about equitable spaces, then I ask the question, then that question to that would be, do we want people who can influence decision making at a high level in stuff that is consumed globally by everybody? Does that make sense? So you run both, or is it that we drive to just create our own versions of those things? And I don't have the answer to that, but that's one of the kind of major questions for me. So do you I just use 2 simple examples. Do we want someone to be the new CEO of Disney, or do we want our own Disney? If that makes sense.
I don't think it's either or though. I think it could be both.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing for me. It's just an interesting aspect. Like, what do we drive for? What do we, especially at this early stage, what do we think is more important to push for? What do we think is more? Where do we start with our ideas and our resources and our drive? What do we think gets the most out of it at this current phase? You know what I mean? I don't know. That's just a sort of thought process of mine. That's what you guys are making me think of. But I think it's about. I think we've reached. Oh no, right, you also.
Well, I was going to say one thing. Do we want to run for longer? I mean, it's your shout.
Well, we have a plethora of delightful drinks out there, and some food, and it's all free, and it's going to have a home. It might be mine, yeah, absolutely, but just to save some space in my boot. We'll break for after you finished this session for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, so everyone can get a top up and.
What time do you want everyone back by? Fucking school, sorry.
Oh right, okay. Tea time will be until should we say 10 past 7? If everyone would like to make their way back into assembly for 10 past 7, and we'll continue with our hymns. When we come back, it will be a question-answer session. So please have your questions ready. It's been thought-provoking so far, I'm sure. I have plenty. So think of what you might want to ask our distinguished panel.
Actually, if it's up to me, I'll ask about 50 questions. I'm like, let me just stop. We charmed about 45 per session, right? 45 per block.
Yeah.
Obviously, when everyone else gets asked, one after question. They want to see.
I'll take it over.
Superstar!
Easy to everybody. So if I
Yes.
guess that to be honest, sorry.
Can we have a guest back, please?
Everyone can keep.
Yes, you can yam. You can yam on the stage. You can yam on the stage.
That's not how it works, man. I need to guess back, sorry, Lisa, man, the deeper conversation. I know,
You can yam on the stage.
you can take that way. You can take that way if you want. I really yeah.
You know this man.
I'm saying, you're mad. There we go, we gotta go back to
Too temperamental.
yes. Okay.
Too temperamental.
And this one's more to everyone, isn't it? So this is everyone gets asked.
Yes, this is the open.
So yeah, so this part, guys, welcome back everybody. Everyone was enjoying food and drinks. I know I was. But I'm trying to be good. Yeah. So in this part, we get to give you guys a chance to ask any questions that you want yourselves. Don't feel like you're being put on the spot, but rather it will come from us. We want to know things that are on your mind, things that you want answered, questions you want answered, decisions you want made. You know what I mean? Apply as much pressure as you feel. I wouldn't say that, no. So yeah, I think Alex, you got the mic. Have you, Alex?
Yes, I've got the mic.
So Alex will go around the mic if so. Let's keep it old school. Just raise your hand, and Alex will find you with the mic, and you get to ask your question.
Sorry, I got a question.
I do have a question.
You can't ask questions, you don't.
It was open question for everybody about mentoring programs and schemes in their field. I know a couple of music, and also I'd love to hear if anyone knows of any more. But yeah, for the panel, are there kind of mentoring schemes or that have been set up in your field, in your industry that you know that you can recommend?
Start if you want me to. So as I said, interior design is a very special industry. It's I would say zero inclusive. So am I on?
Yeah.
Okay, there was before George Floyd, there was never any discussion. And as I said, I still feel, and I'm very confident in who I am, but I still feel sometimes a little bit scared going into the design center. It was very challenge from Chelsea, basically. So there was one organization started after lockdown called United in Design. They're doing quite interesting work in interior design, interior architecture, and tackling the issue of bringing more diversity to the industry. But it's relatively across the board. It's not just aimed at kind of black young people that want to get into the industry. Again, in the US, I am part of an organization called Bad Guild, Black American Designers Guild, which is phenomenal. They're doing great stuff. But I think we need to look for more change in our industry. This is really difficult. So as an individual, yes, we even spoke in the room about it earlier, individually can come and bring people in, but structured, there's nothing really set up to do anything.
Within my industry, I launched we launched a scheme called the Elevate Mentorship Scheme. So that's been running for 3 years. It's going into the 4th year. So we run it as an internal organisation. It's quite structured. It has, I think you mentioned about structure for mentorship schemes, so it's really structured. We've got a mentorship platform for matching. We have workshops, we have events, and it's over 6 months, 6 hours in total. And so we've supported about 100 people today with over 600 hours of mentorship. And next year we're looking to go bigger and better. But always sponsored by third parties and brands. So yeah, that's the only one in the industry that serves black people primarily.
That's quite a difficult question, I think, to answer within the arts and culture sector, because there are a number, I think, of like organisations, different theatres and dance competitions will have mentorship schemes. But as a sector, in terms of like, art, I don't think the Arts Council necessarily run a mentorship scheme, but what we have started to see emerging, particularly in the local community, is much more networks. So there's one community in detox, and I think it was running from before George Floyd, that using detox is around using professionals who are people of colour, because the museum and galleries is not very diverse and like Charlotte and Chelsea. But this network of they come together, and I think mentorship, sort of informal mentorship and mentorship opportunities come through there. But I think across sort of arts and culture, that would be more organisational led.
From creative side, there is a few, I just can't think of the names right now, so that's probably not helpful. But from a creative arts point of view, we are about to start an academy, which it's already kind of planning, is already in the works. This is going to be launching in January. And that is an academy across 3 levels. So one is about learning a skill. First of all, so the 3 skills that we'll be teaching is DJing, podcasting, and photography. And then the next piece is around life skills. And then we've got a coaching and mentoring element that will happen. So that is an overall academy program that's starting in the new year, which should last about 12 weeks or so. And then that will be the first of it. And then the aim is to grow it into a space where it will actually be a diploma program. So someone will actually be able to get a diploma from it. So it'll actually have something to show and hopefully help them into employability. So.
And just if anyone's interested in music, I've been involved with a few organisations, Creating Vision, run by a few people that I know. One of them is Kwame Kwateng, who's of Ghanaian descent. So they do mentoring and also a free workshop once a year. They call it Ultimate Seminar. They also do like introduction sessions on A&R if you want to get into that side of music. So that's a really cool scheme. It isn't necessarily aimed just at black people, but I think that the demographic people who are attracted to it tends to be a very black focus. And I think that it's been a really, really useful thing for me. A friend of mine also started something called Small Green Shoots, who some people may have heard of. And they do amazing work with placing young people in the creative industries, and I think there's a lot of funding that, as you mentioned, comes from outside sources to help with that. But again, I've got friends and colleagues at Universal who've been through programs at Small Green Shoots and end up having jobs in the music industry. So many more. I know Carla, she's called Carla Andrew, she's a black singer-songwriter. She started a platform or network called Girls High Rates, which is amazing. There's the Cat's Mother I've heard of, which is primarily women, mentoring other women in music, which again is brilliant. There's so many more that she said. There were loads, and it's been really, really encouraging for me to see that. But it's the most people you don't know, and if you know, you know. And I think that's the difficult thing for me, is how do these networks get publicised beyond the network that they're on touch? Which is maybe a question for everybody, or for the panel as well.
I think it's a question for Alex and Martin. No, I think in just putting seriousness in that, something like BOLO is an amazing way of connecting industries across the board. And I think, I don't know, there's some opportunity there.
I mean, from my side of things, put us on the spot, that is part of the vision. That's part of the vision. What we want is to become eventually, not saying too much, is sort of a platform, what is a platform, where that kind of stuff can be accessible to all, and conveniently so. So that people can find out about anything they want to be, whether it's funding, whether it's mentorship, whatever it is for the black community in general, just to have a place where whatever you're looking for, you can get directed to it, and in a very convenient way, across all levels. So that's why, we're trying to work towards that, developing the site, creating an app for it, and these are things that we're building from. But as you know, these things take time. We're not a massive team, To be honest, yeah, so in that sense, so these things take time, but to what you guys are saying, we have to create these things. If we wait for someone to do it for us, i.e., asking some established company or established place that's not black owned initiative to do it for us, you're just going to be probably spending most of your time waiting. And then if it is done, it might be done to the spec you want, and then you're beholden to people who actually don't necessarily see it as their fight or their I don't know what's but they're not going to have necessarily the best interests at heart. So that's why, I think that's the only way you do it, is by creating platforms, and that's the world we live in now. In terms of computing and smartphones, we need to make it as accessible as possible. Because we don't get me wrong, we need the businesses, we need the brick and mortar invested, but you need to make it as accessible as possible, so that people can reach it from wherever they are at any given point. And then hopefully once we do that, we leave it to people like yourselves to finish the journey, or start the journey if you like, for those who then find you.
A question myself actually.
I wanted to ask it, but can we ask someone in the audience? Because I feel like we're just literally going to talk about ourselves. Do you know what I mean? I realise that we're not really asking anyone. So if someone has a question, does anyone have a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good evening, Remy from the School of African Languages. So our question is essentially 3 questions that if we can sort of merge them somehow. The first question is, what is success to you? The second question is the vision that you have of success, is it in alignment with the people that you mentor? Is the second one. And the third one I'd like to know is, what are you actually going to do to make an impact within the community that you've been talking about? Thank you.
There we go.
I can't remember the second one.
Yeah. I'll try to remember.
What is success?
Success.
Is your success in alignment with the people that you mentor?
Yeah.
So the way you view success and the way they view success, is it the same? And the third one is just generally, what's the next step for you to bring impact? Yeah.
I'll start. Great question. Very good question. For me, my definition of success is legacy, and the whole kind of reason why we started Creative House in the first place. I feel like my wife and I owe our life to the prayers and I guess life that her and my parents lived, and basically they're very selfless people, both her parents and my parents, very selfless people. They've kind of lived their life in service, serving other people, and I do believe that we are a product of their blessings, right? So the kind of point I'm getting at is I want to live, my wife and I want us to kind of live the life where we're creating something for our children. And we want to create generational wealth for our children, which is tangible, but we also want to create generational blessings for our children, which may not be tangible. So for me, that's my definition of success, is what's the legacy that I leave behind. In terms of the second piece of, do the people I mentor see it the same? Not always, not really, to be honest. I think everyone has their own definition of what success is, and it varies quite broadly. So I wouldn't say I speak to loads of people that have that exact same mindset as myself and my wife. But in general, yes, they are in a space where they want to do good, and I feel like a lot of people do. The majority of people do, and to the point I made earlier around mentoring is sometimes they just need a platform to do it, because sometimes life just kind of gets in the way. And the third piece of what I'm doing to achieve that is basically Creative House. So that's essentially it, and as I said, that was the reason why we started it, is to try and create that. We're quite a unique organisation, in a sense where what we're offering is totally free. Right? There is other organisations doing amazing stuff. Roundhouse are doing amazing stuff that's similar to this. but our offering is totally free, and I think that's something that's quite unique. But then also we've created it in a super premium way. It's a very premium studio, a very premium organisation. We do that because that's our brand, that's what we want to be recognised for. But we also do it that way because we want to subconsciously tell the young people that this is the value we put on you. You belong here, right? So we want them to come into a space that is super premium, super high end. We said you belong here, you should be here, but it also give them experience working in a quote professional environment. So when they do go into the real world, they've already got experience working in that space. So yeah, that's
Okay, I'm happy to go next if you're okay with that. First of all, amazing questions. I also love the sound of what you're doing. I want to find out more about that because I think it's part of the overall narrative. What does success mean for me? It means being heard and having an impact through what I'm trying to express. And having this passion, and we talked about passion earlier. Passion, you can be passionate about anything, but I think often with entrepreneurship and passion comes from something where you really see a lack, where you really have, I mean, I have such a, still after 15 years, there's such a hunger, such a desire. Every morning I get up and I go to my studio, which is moved studios, and I'm literally, I cannot get out of that studio. I've got the husband, 2 kids at home, I cannot get out because I am so passionate about what I'm doing, and I think that is almost, and it has an impact. People have noticed it. People see, and I'm talking about our Pan-African, our continent, hopefully, it's like tiniest percent through a different lens with the work I'm doing, and that means success for me. Of course I want to make money, of course I want to make a lot of money with it, but I could potentially, actually, you know, that's another thing with entrepreneurship. People think that if you run your own company, that you're making more if you're in an employed job. No, seriously, not necessarily. If you know how to do it, you can actually make money. But I think this passion and having this voice and hopefully making an impact, that's what I define as my success. The people who I mentor, I think I have mentored different people. The moment I mention a young woman who has, again, I mean, I'm actually also a bit kind of intimidated by her because she's, again, so passionate, so knowledgeable. The only thing, she wants things very quickly. And she's quite young, and I think it's important to understand that things take time. The person you are today, you're going to be a different person tomorrow, and you're going to grow over time. I mean, the person I'm now, when we had the podcast interview earlier this year, I'm a different woman right now because I've learned and I've grown. So I think it's really important to take things easy and do it step by step, not wanting. Just did a mind map about some details, and there was so much on there where I thought, like, take it step by step. So I think often that's it. And the last question, will you repeat again, please, was?
What's your next steps to create impact in the community?
I'm just looking at my company, Eva Shanaika. I really want to, and I'm not finished with my mission. I think I haven't even started yet. And my mission is not just my company, it's like an overall broader picture of changing the narrative of our community. Really broad with that because that's what I'm basically doing, and I think that's really important to have an impact. I have a voice, my voice is heard globally, but I think especially with having this voice comes more responsibility and bringing people with me, bringing people from the continent with me. Also, what's the word? I don't want to call it mentoring, but working with people on the continent to also be heard, to be seen, and be recognized. I think that's the overall lifetime mission.
I'll say, for me, twofold.
So one is impact, so we're a social enterprise, so everything that we do, I'm obsessed with measuring things as well anyway, just by, I think, maybe the career I've had in commercial roles. So being able to measure impact and how everything that we do touches people is something that we do on an annual basis anyway. So impact is one, but another is freedom. And I describe it as this, whilst I had a very fruitful and on paper successful career, previous business, when I started my own business, I felt as though I took a straitjacket off. and I didn't realise I was wearing it until I was free of it. And so the path and journey that I'm on, it's freedom, and it's freedom to dream. And so I pursued or did a degree that wasn't interested in at all, but it was practical, and I thought it would secure me a job, and it did that. But there's so many other things that I want to do, and now that I'm an entrepreneur, I have the headspace, strangely, even though I'm really busy, to think and dream and put it into action and do it. And so there's obviously a financial element with that as well, which is great. But it's freedom and impact. And so is it impacting people in the way in which they would like? I believe so, because we do tons of research, we do focus groups, we survey every year, we've got loads of data which tells us what people want and what people need, and then we deliver initiatives in line with what people are saying they want and need. So.
First question, I think pretty much what's already been said. I think it's making a change, the way you can actually see the legacy. And if I think about my career journey in the arts and culture and representation and the black female leaders that I saw further up in those leadership roles, who again supported me through that journey, and now I'm similar. They're coming to me now and saying, "Gosh, we really respect and admire your work." And I'm like, "No, I respect and admire your work. You took me up the chain with you." Being able to now be able to do that for another generation, and it's really interesting. I was recently at the Black British Theatre Awards, and what was really beautiful about that was that next generation of artists that are coming through, not just actors, performers, but set designers, lighting designers, a whole plethora of black talent that was coming through. And a couple of the people that I was with, they referred to, I don't quite know how I feel about this. Part of it feels a bit like, ooh, but then there's another bit like, damn, you make me feel old. I'm referred to now as industry mum. Because these are I say young people, young adults that, that approached me when they were like out of high school, university, and came and worked alongside me through work experience, brought them into networks, and now they are in levels where they're associate director, producer, and for me, I feel really blessed that I've been able to be part of that journey and make that change. And I talk about this. I've done a podcast recently where I've said a similar thing around. So me being head of culture in a local authority as a black woman, there's not many of us around. Recently, someone connected with me on LinkedIn who was a head of culture in Leeds, another black woman. So we're slowly finding each other. And I got to this part of my journey, probably, I should have been here 5-6 years before, but I haven't, and that's another podcast. But I want to make sure that the next generation coming behind me are able to kind of step into, see it's visible, see it as an opportunity where you can have creativity, where you can have entrepreneurial spirit. It doesn't just feel like it's stuffy local government, bureaucratic, but then there's opportunity to make a change. Because if we're not here, if posts people are not visible, we're not making that change and that legacy in the community, which we have a major part to play in supporting and empowering our community. So I think I answered your two questions there.
Yeah. And the last one is, what's your next steps to impact the community further?
Gosh. I think it's just to keep doing what we're doing. I mean, this year, this is my first full year that I've done at Camden Council, and Nikki, who works with the team, was smart, because I came in with all these ideas. We're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do this. And Nikki was the first to say to me, well, why don't we always do it in this way? And I'm just like, we're going to try, we're going to do it. And one of the things that we did do was we put on a celebration in Camden Town Green, which is in Kentish Town. And that had not been, I'm right, Nikki, that had not been done before by a council to put on a celebration of a full Windrush 75 where we put a stage. We had Jazzy B, DJ, and we had Carol Thompson performing. It's a free festival for the local community to come to. It's got, people loved it so much that we've asked us to do it again. And so for me, in terms of my next stage, is looking at how do we continue to create opportunities like that, and how do we continue to support, grassroots artists, black grassroots artists, and that next generation of artists. I'm not going to be here forever, and I need someone to step into my shoes.
Amazing. For myself, I felt very selfish when the first thing that pops into my head when you asked the question, because success for me was that emotional calmness, happiness, joy. And maybe it's good to be selfish sometimes. I think we sometimes do things under pressure and for stress. I think starting with myself, but also looking outwards to my network, to the people that I'm mentoring, to the people that I'm influencing, wanting that to be more pervasive, wanting that to be more common, where actually we do take care of our mental health. There are a lot of things that go on in the world, and having a level of joy and resilience, I think, is really, really important. So that's one measure of success for me. And of course, legacy, super important. And for me, I'd love that to be a type of legacy as well, that I work towards having that kind of, that temperament and that way of being, and the people around me, and hopefully more and more people have that. Do the people that I mentor and that I work with align with the same goals? Sometimes not. I think it is becoming quite common these days for people to be aware of the mental health. And I think, again, as someone who mentors and teaches, trying to find that balance of trying to push somebody, trying to get them to achieve the most that they can without them sacrificing their mental health and their well-being at the same time. And I'm still finding that balance, but it's something I'm hyper aware of because of my own journey that I've been through with it. And what steps am I taking, or what am I going to do next? But it's not original to say more the same, as other people do say. And yeah, it is a really joyous experience seeing someone that I taught a couple of years ago hitting 1 million streams, 5 million streams on a song, and thinking, that's something that maybe at our time we didn't do, but this next generation are doing. So yeah, I feel like I am doing some of those things, and maybe going back to the first point, going home and having the rest so that I can keep on going to do it again.
I think there's something really important about restorative care. It's one of the people that I really hold in high regard in my circle of trust as a lady called Galen Gold. And one of the things that she did during the pandemic, because of her own experience that she'd gone through, is that she set up this network. She got funding from the Core Leadership program to set up a network called a program called Brilliant Roots. And that Brilliant Roots was aimed at the majority of people who work in the arts and culture sector to come together in a space and just really kind of reflect on our mental health, but make connections as well. From that, she went on to create a program called Re-Up. And I was really lucky to be on the first cohort of Re-Up. And we met over 6 months. A lot of that was online, but it was just what she really sort of got us to focus on is restorative care. Because if we can't care for ourselves, it's that thing of putting on your oxygen mask first before you put on for others. How are we able to be the best version of ourselves and best being ourselves? So that idea of kind of self-reflection, but just really restoring yourself and managing yourself, is really so important for us to be able to continue being awesome.
Amazing. Anyone got any questions? Good one to you.
Well, I did have a question, but you kind of answered the question later, because I was about to mention the mental health, and the well-being, but you sort of approach that. So yeah.
Maybe we can still answer it if other people want to talk about how they take care of themselves and how they integrate that into their lives.
Can I just jump in and say, making me laugh, and she knows that one of the ways that I do is I love dancing. I love going out and I love raving and all that. This weekend, this weekend I'm off to, some of you may have heard of it, Cocoa Black, which is a black tie, and then I'm just kind of dressing up and going out the whole day in the presence of other like-minded people. And for me, that, like, just being the ability to just dance, let go, and being in that space around other people is one of the best sort of releases, as well as spending time with the kids and the husband and just being in that space with you, completely shut off, and you are just, again, restoring your bucket with love.
So important. So, I mean, I said that I spent late night in the office, and when I started the business in the beginning, I literally, I was in full-time employment, and I was running the business evenings, lunch breaks, weekends, and in the beginning I worked, I don't know how many days, 14, 15, 16 hours a day, and I also had 2 little babies back then, and really very quickly learned this is not the way forward. So I think it's really important to have a balance, like in everywhere else. I sleep at least 8 hours each night. Evenings and weekends, when I get home from work, I don't work, I don't look at emails, and I don't look at Instagram, I don't do anything. So you have to be really disciplined about it. And I work out a lot, I love exercise, I'm a TRX addict, I love TRX, like, I love dancing as well, but I'm more on the ballet side, so I do that in the evening on weekends, and then also spending time with loved ones, friends, I mean my girlfriends, on my kind of safe space. I mean, everything's possible. We can talk about everything, and there's no barrier. I think that's really important to have this balance. Work hard, but then also have the other side where you don't think about work and don't kind of engage with work and just do what you enjoy and rest and sleep.
I echo, a lot of what you've all said. I think, but I acknowledge it's a journey, and there's ebbs and flows with that. And I say that because for me, kind of transitioning into self-employment post the pandemic, and then after the pandemic, like transitioning into life, as it then was, and there's still ongoing a lot of change. And for me personally, I've also been building a business. So I'd love to be able to just not look at my emails or not do any work on the weekend. But there's probably not a weekend that I don't have to do just something, even if it's very small. But what I've really made a conscious effort to do is to plan forward. So I have outlets like I love exercising and spending time with loved ones, obviously, as well. But I have to make a concerted effort to constantly make sure that I am doing that, because I love what I do, like work-wise, really do, and my work often blurs with my personal life, and I can be out, and for everyone on the outside it looks like it's great times, but it's work for me, even though there are things there that I enjoy. So I feel like I'm still on a journey of trying to find that balance, but always being very self-aware, self-reflective, and I speak to my friend about this, often like making lists of the things that bring me joy and making sure that I'm doing a lot of that as well as working a lot, which I do.
I think the self-awareness and self-reflection piece is really important, because it will be different for everybody as well. So yeah, thank you for that.
Nothing for me to add. What is it?
Anybody questions?
All I was going to add to that is I think as well, with any of these journeys, as you put it, it's a journey. So you sometimes only discover these things when you meet them. And no matter how much forward planning you do, because you want the thing that you're going for, you won't necessarily be able to plan ahead for that restorative aspect. Sometimes you have to hit that kind of wall, and then, as you've all said with the self-reflectiveness, realise that you're there, and then try to do the things that help you recover in that sense. Because I think for anyone, when you're in the thick of it, the last thing you're thinking about is yourself. And you know what I mean? Everyone's just thinking like, go, especially when things are going well even, do you know what I mean? And everything's being pushed, you don't even think for a second. It doesn't feel like stress. It doesn't feel like when I was work, then actually you're putting your body through it. So sometimes you don't realise it too much, do you? I think. But, yeah, that's me done. On 2 cents.
Anyone got questions? Yes, so come on, let's go. Let's come your way.
Earlier we touched on this idea of, in the UK we have lots of different cultures and backgrounds, and maybe it doesn't contribute to this very dense network that you see in the States, for example. And I wondered if the panel could reflect on, what are some cultural values that you have, that you're proud of, and that you think have really helped you on this journey?
It is something I do want to reflect on. I was brought up in quite a religious environment, and I think that went hand in hand with my Nigerian background, is the fervour with the religion. I think, I've been through my own journey with religion and belief and spirituality, but I think the thing that I always held on to was that real kind of what's right and what's wrong, and trying to make the world a better place, which, rightly or wrongly, as one human being, can we change the world? Maybe that's, the therapist may speak to you about trying to take on too much, but that's one of the things that I can think of straight away. I don't know if anyone else can jump in with a short thought if we've not fully reflected.
I think just a quick one from my side. The first thing that came to my mind was respect. So I was born in the UK, lived here till I was 7, then I moved to Gambia, and lived between Gambia and Senegal for about 7 years and came back when I was 14. And my dad's Senegalese, so he made sure that he took us there. In Senegalese? Yes. Hey, come on. You see the excitement in my voice. So I think he made sure that we went back and lived part of our life there. And the main thing out of that experience that obviously there's loads, but I guess the main thing I took from that, from a cultural point of view, is respect. And I think that's something that has made me the man and the person I am today, is just respect for people. And I try to carry that as much as I can.
I'd add, for me, I think being brave. And I think when I think about my grandparents coming here to a place with an attempt to build a better life under a hostile situation, and then sending for their children, or my parents, and then them also encountering an unpleasant experience when they arrived. But still, despite all of that, they were brave. So my dad, in particular, amazing singer, and he had a record deal. I used to perform up and down the country, and as a result of my mum getting pregnant, actually, he had to get a proper job, and he took the leap and moved to Birmingham. And when I look at my grandparents and my parents, I just often think brave, constantly taking a leap, and not dipping your toe in, but jumping in with head first, whole body. And I really do feel like I embody that in a lot of the things I do. I really don't believe in dipping your toe in. I just feel like jump in. And I say that during the pandemic, I took voluntary redundancy, started my own business, and under the false sense of reality, because during the pandemic we didn't have any outgoings, right? I wasn't really buying clothes, just buying food. I can do this. But the reality of the fact is, obviously, when the world reopened, we had expenses. However, I feel, I look back and reflect, I was really brave because I took the leap, because I had such conviction with what I was doing and the fact that it was going to work and that it was going to be successful. And it was an element of, my dad says stupidity, but I said being brave, so. But yeah, so I think that for me, it shows up throughout my family, consistently, taking that lead.
Yeah, I would say something similar. I'd say resilience and perseverance, I think, are the two key things. So that drive to just keep going even when times are tough. You don't really know what the path is going to take you. Just that sort of proving that being resilient to what is going to come your way, but also persevering as well.
Okay, so mine is actually relatively similar, but my story is a little bit different as my parents came to Germany in the 1970s to study, didn't speak a word of German. Born, raised there, in a on the surface most beautiful society environment, but quite hostile underlying because that was the only one. Literally, it's primary school, secondary school, everywhere. That gives you automatically, I think you have two choices, either you make it or you break. And I think I was born with, I knew I would make it, so so you're, first of all, you fight for everything. So I'm a born fighter. I think one of my friends in Germany, they call me soldier, the German version of my cancer. So I think that's one thing, but I think that is really important. You also get deeply rooted into your culture. So I think respect. I think in our Yoruba culture, there's respect is ingrained in that culture, but there's also a form of gratefulness, a form of not taking things for granted. And I think that's really as part of my being that I hopefully have respect to human beings and to this world. Through the kind of resilience, speak my word, but also really be grateful. I think that's important. Never forget where you're coming from and what people before you went through to be where we are right now. So that's what I would say.
I don't know whether this is correct, but I have heard something about the Yoruba concept of not taking things as personally. And so it was something about mental health and resilience, but sometimes if something happens, instead of it being like, oh, the world is doing this to me, it's almost a common saying like, that's just the world and I'll keep going. I don't know if that's correct, and maybe you can weigh in on that, but I've heard of this concept the other day and I was like, oh, that's really cool, like, I want to try and embody that, even though my parents aren't Yoruba. But something I also want to add is family. And those kind of lifelong ties is such a big part of the culture that I grew up on. So not even necessarily just the blood family, but the people that were there from day dot. You know, I've got friends who their parents came from Nigeria on the same plane that my parents came on. You know, we shared houses together, clothes, all that kind of thing. And there are people that I can still look to today with that level of trust. And there's other people in my life who joined in that circle, I would say, from that same class as family, and having those people is super grounding. And also, when I need that restorative time, they're the people that I turn to and I really, really gain from. So that's something else.
Amazing, thank you. Anyone got any more questions?
I was going to ask something really interesting because you guys have made me think of it. But what do you think it is about, whether it's about your upbringing, whether it's about your natural personality, whatever it may be, but all of you strike me as people who never believed that they couldn't do anything that they wanted to do. And I think that's something that I think, whether we may not feel that way, but I think that's something that does exist, especially in the black community where there's, you know, the stereotypical idea of, you know, that's not a black job, or that's a job for white people, that kind of aspect of things. But I feel like no matter what you guys all set up to do, there's never been a moment where it's, this isn't for me, or shouldn't be for me, or shouldn't. Not as far as imposter syndrome, because I think that exists for everyone regardless at some point, but I think just what's not made you cave under that, and what's made you continue going through that, what's made you think, I could do this, there's no reason why I can't do this, even if it becomes difficult, there's nothing to stop you starting the journey, if that makes sense.
I would say my parents, but my dad, really, so my parents' journey, my dad came to the UK in 1971 from Jamaica and sent by the Jamaican government on behalf of Trading Records to support the emerging reggae. sensation was about to hit the UK and explode. And some of you may be aware of the David Anderson Collins and the double barrel thing that went to #1. That was how my dad ended up coming to the UK. So from the minute I was born, I kind of knew I was going to end up working in a cultural space. My dad, there's 4 of us, and I think my dad wanted all of us to be musicians. My was the one that ended up being the musician. I played the violin for 10 years, and I knew that I wanted to be in a cultural space. But I think each different part of the journey. So even when I was a teenager, when I was at music school, and at Southern got into the film on the orchestra, I remember them turning up for because each year they would audition you to kind of work at the sort of orchestra, and I remember turning up for an audition one week, and I made it to be like the deputy first violin, which is basically you either want to be the first violinist or the deputy. I'm just right next to the conductor, and he gives you the nod and you lead the orchestra. And I made it to there, and I remember going home to my dad saying, I'm the deputy, I'm the first violin deputy. And then the following week when I went back, the conductor said, we've reordered it, you went back. And I just remember feeling absolutely gutted and just thinking to me, it's not good enough. But my dad saw exactly what that was about. And being the warrior that he is, Kingston, Jamaica, decided that he was going to go up to music school and rip everyone's head off. And whilst I was feeling shame and embarrassment, my dad was basically saying, no, this is racism, and then a whole thing happened after that, and I didn't get moved back to the front, I got moved to sort of the middle. But I remember me saying to him, I just want to do some more, and he just keeps saying to me, no, you deserve to be there, you deserve to be there, keep going, and at every point through my career, even up until recently when I was working on the Borough Culture Programme, and at times there was some really tricky times there, and he would just constantly be pushing me, saying, look where you come from, you come from me, your grandma, look at the, we have my dad comes from an incredibly large family of Browns, 6 brothers and 7 sisters, and across the world. I don't know, I've lost count of how many of us there are. But he always in his head, he brings this kind of, it's not just one of us, it's the army. And you need to install that. It's not just you, it's your army as well, and you can do this, and you can keep pushing and pushing. Even today, when I was speaking to my parents, he was saying, again, just kind of instilling that you can do this, keep pushing us where you need to be, and where, you need to even take it even higher. So I think for me, all the times when I had self-doubt, because my dad's come from a cultural background, and because of his fight to be here and stay here in the UK, because at one point it looked like he would have to go back to Jamaica, but he decided that he was going to commit to staying, met my mum, rest of history, but he's always sort of been that driving force of pushing.
I mean, I definitely agree that my dad is the one who comes to mind, and maybe some people in this room have heard those stories of, I used to get up at 4 in the morning and walk to school with half a shoe. And I heard those stories,
You get water from the stream first.
And then go to the market and sell stuff in order to pay school fees.
Everything started before school. Everything started before school. Nothing happened before school.
I hear those stories. I don't know how I reacted to them, but on a subconscious level, they're with me. So, I mean, Martin, you probably look at me and some of the stuff and said, oh, Carl is that person who's like, yeah. I definitely have doubts that I vocalise, maybe to like myself or someone who's next to me at the time. But on a subconscious level again, it's that, well, I'm just going to put one foot in front of the other, and yeah, I will work it out. And that's what I remember from the stories my dad would tell me, was, oh, I didn't know how to do this, but I went and got the textbook and I read it and he just always, it seemed that he would always muddle his way through it, and then he was top of the class. And then he went to this school and that school, and so on, got the scholarship or whatever. But I think, yeah, hearing those stories, it again goes back to where we started when we talk about mentorship and network and knowledge. Like, when you hear stories like that, it seeps into you and it does something. And if all you hear is you can't, or all you hear is it's impossible, I think maybe life would be different. Yeah. And also, just to shout out, my mum's the same. She just didn't tell the same stories as much. You know? So yeah, my mum also a fighter, and to this day, like when I start to think about it, yeah, again, that same mentality of, I want that, I'm gonna make it happen, and no one's gonna stop me. So yeah, that's something that I can be thankful for.
Right, I mean, these stories, we all heard these stories. I always think about my parents coming to Germany, studying in a language that you've never heard in your life before, and mastering and making a career and bringing up a family. I don't know whether I could do that. I mean, that's where it starts. But looking at me, we all have fears. I have fears all the time. Let's be absolutely realistic. What did I go out there to the strange show? Oh my goodness, I'm scared. I'm scared of some of the commitments I'm doing. I'm scared of a lot of things, but you put one foot in front of the other foot. Absolutely, there's, and I wouldn't say there's nothing stopping me. We need to be really real here. Getting out of your comfort zone all the time. Fear is there. I wouldn't call it imposter syndrome, but fear, uncertainty, in a way, you feel insecure. These elements are all there. But despite everything, I know what my mission is. I know who I am. I know where I'm coming from. I know that every day is a new day, and that I can do it. And I do it. And there's as I said, there's like, people are dependent on me, not in terms of like, well, of course my kids and family, but people look up to you and think like, hey, what you're doing, of course you have to move on and do everything. And I tell my kids the stories. Oh, my kids help hear the stories from the 80s and the 90s, where we didn't have iPhones and we didn't have everything, and that's obviously a different story, but we're all storytellers. We're coming from a culture of storytelling. So that will go on, but it's one step at a time. Every day is a new day, that's how I see it.
Yeah, I agree. I feel the same. I feel like it's almost like, you know, we all have an internal voice, right? And we have internal dialogues constantly, and we have internal dialogues that are sometimes kind and positive and sometimes not. And I almost feel like for anyone and everyone, it's like the wrestle of who wins. I haven't got the same kind of references that you've all described in terms of my parents. My parents are really very different to me in that, like, very introverted and very selfless people, but were not go-getters. They actually just lived selflessly for me and my brothers, and served us, basically. So I didn't get that from them. Well, I didn't get this from them. You know, any decision I've made, my parents, like, gasped with fear. Like, I told, in 2018, I decided to leave a job because I just wasn't happy there, toxic environment, didn't have a job to go to. And they were just like losing their minds, like, and they like telling people I work for a particular celebrity chef, so they were like, you can't go, like, where are you going, you paid well? Anyway, so didn't get it from my parents, but for me personally, so I did a coaching diploma in 2018, but pre that, I've always had a real interest in psychology. So big into like Iona Van Zandt or Anthony Robbins, read their books, read about neuro-linguistic programming, and through reading actually, I learned sort of in my early to mid 20s that I am in control of my life, and how I think will determine my outcomes. And this is from a person that actually, in hindsight, always thought the worst case. And then I would put into place just little things like, imagining there's going to be a parking space in the supermarket, and when I pull in, it was there. And it started quite small, and through reading and through just continuously doing the same thing, that's how I've kind of, and it's still something that I still work on, just like focusing on the best possible outcome and not the negative. But we can all go down rabbit holes of thinking the worst case. I just think it's like, it's an ongoing, people see the outward results and assume like, yeah, and I'm like, I mean, yeah, no, like constantly having conversations about the things that I'm concerned about or what I should not do. But I'm really fortunate to have like really great people in my corner, either on my board, in my family, or my friends, that also act as a constant reminder that just helps as well. So
it kind of sounds like you are sometimes really going left and going right, and you're like, I could go left and feel like it's not going to happen, or I could go right and actually make it happen. And that's the choice that you're making more often than not. It kind of sounds like this.
Exactly. And sometimes I make the wrong decision, you know. But I think as someone that I'd like to believe I take kind of measured decisions in everything and try and weigh things up. But when you're weighing things up, you've got to look at the worst case too, right? And sometimes that's a blocker. So yeah, constant.
Yeah, I think my biggest strength is sometimes ignorance is bliss and I just jump into things. I get really excited about projects. Like, we can have a conversation now and there's a project that will excite me and tomorrow I'm starting it, right? And that's and as I don't like calling myself an entrepreneur, but as an entrepreneur, my key thing is staying in a mindset of vision. And when we start something, it's as long as the vision is clear and I can see where we should go and how and what we should do, I just start it. And I don't really think too much about the how. And because for me, I feel like thinking about the how sometimes is bad. To be honest, the reason why I'm saying this is early on when I was younger, before I kind of got into the whole entrepreneurial journey, is I did think a lot about the how. And when you think about the how, I'm not saying don't, but I'm saying when you think about it too much, you basically put yourself off and you never do anything. And that's what happened to me for like 10 years, right? I didn't get into it even though I knew I wanted to. So I don't really bother about the how, I just think about the vision. As long as the vision excites me and I think something there, I just get into it and figure out all the way. And that's how kind of, InZone started. I was working at Nike, very secure, great job, had this idea. I was living in Amsterdam, nice house and traveling all the time, great job, fantastic. I grew up playing basketball, I was working with Jordan. I was like living the dream. I literally met Michael Jordan a few months ago. And then I go to my wife and I was like, oh, how about we move back to London and move back to your parents' house and start again from the beginning? She's like, really? Really? So that was an interesting conversation. But again, it wasn't thinking about the how, it's just more just this is the vision, this is what I feel in my heart, I feel like this is what God's telling me to do. And just run with it and then figure out on the way. Same with Creative House, it kind of happened organically. And then once it starts, then it's like, okay, we've started this now. Now we need to do this right. We need to do this well. And then every day is a new day.
Amazing. I think we've come to that time of the evening where we really launch into some networking. I'll leave it to Martin to close off the evening, but what I will say 100% is thank you for coming, and I leave you with one rule: everyone must connect with at least 3 people here today. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. That's what we're all about. We want to make sure that people extend their networks. There's so much value. There's so many incredible people in this room. You guys are laughing because you're really connected. I mean, it's really done it. Fantastic. Follow these leads. Okay, these are fantastic people. So that's glad to hear. But that's all I will ask. And once again, thank you. I'll leave it to mine to close.
So you like doing this thing. I don't know why you like doing this thing. I feel like I've got to say something profound. But I'm not. That's the worst part about it. But no, honestly, thank you for everyone today for coming. Your presence has been appreciated. Thank you to our lovely panel, who I literally, if I could speak to them every day for 24 hours a day, I would. But don't worry, I'm not going to stalk anyone. I'm saying I would. But actually, they're a wealth of knowledge. If you didn't know about them, you do now. Follow them. And I look forward to bigger and better things coming from all you guys. Keep making the impacts you're making. It inspires us. It's the reason why we do what we do. It does inspire us, believe it or not. You're inspiring no matter how big or small you may feel. You're having an impact on someone's life. And definitely have an impact on mine. So again, thank you.
Can I just say before we wrap up, before I said this in the podcast, and I think I speak for everyone in the room, I also want to shout out you guys at BOLO. You guys have done an amazing job to create this organization, and it's like we need people in organizations like you. So I guess I'm pretty sure you guys agree. Just want to say thank you for what you guys are doing, and thank you for creating this. So yeah.
Thank you.
Just to let you know, we do have our first episode out of the podcast.
podcast.
Oh, there we go, big mic action. So it is out on Spotify and all platforms. It will be out tomorrow on YouTube as well, and it will be out weekly from today, all the series. So thank you so much to all the panel involved in the podcast series. So
it was filmed at Creators Hub, which is awesome as well. So it's a great time and interviews all these people. So it's definitely worth the watch.
So thank you so much. There is music, there is more drinks, and more food for you to consume. So I'm not carrying it in the booth. Thank you so much.
If you stay in place, I'm just going to sit down here. You're going to take about half.
I'm just going to move my plate out of the way.
Yeah, he's going to come with
Yeah, oh, I got you so much. Honestly, who hasn't had a cocktail yet? If you haven't, I don't understand. Yeah, that's good.
I'll think it's
Oh, hold on, did you take a picture? Yeah.
Personally, I'm happy not to make it. I'll let you know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
So the schedule should be emailed to you. Should have emailed to you guys. Yes.
Lovely. Set up this becoming more and more high tech. I'm telling you. No, you.